Hello, welcome to the Jellyfish Journals. My name is Susie. I've got my jellyfish sweatshirt. I've got my jellyfish earrings. If you can't tell, I'm a little excited about today's video. So I have been starting to think through what I'm going to do for my 2026 reading journal, and I finally settled on the theme space jellyfish. So not like jellyfish with little astronaut helmets on or flying around in rocket ships, but just kind of like jellyfish with starry backgrounds, I guess. So, but I just like the phrase space jellyfish. So that's what we're going with. So as I was starting to think through what did I want in my 2026 reading journal, I did some reflecting on what was working in my 2025 reading journal, what wasn't working in that journal. And I did do a video that kind of broke down some of my thoughts on those things. And as I reflected on some of those things, I realized that some things in my reading journal weren't working and they needed to come out. The good thing is that means there's room for new stuff. There's room to try out something different. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I wanted, I guess, more ownership in my reading journal. I didn't want it to just be ideas that I had seen other people have that I was implementing in my journal. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I totally get a lot of inspiration from other journalists and other creators. And I'm always hopeful that something I come up with or something that I put in my journal might be inspiring to somebody else who wants to try it out as well. But I guess I just wanted something that I kind of pulled out of thin air. I wanted something that felt completely me, totally me. And with a space jellyfish theme, it seemed like I had to find a way to put as many jellyfish into my reading journal as possible. So I already take part in the STORYGRAPH Easy Reading Challenge. It's an awesome app. If you haven't tried out the STORYGRAPH app, I highly recommend it. STORYGRAPH just works very well for me. It's super basic, super simplistic. You can pay a little bit for a subscription to like level it up and get more graphs and charts, but I really just needed an app that was straightforward and did exactly what I wanted it to do, and helped me track the things that will eventually go in my reading journal. I also love all the little tiny book covers that are in the app. I don't know why, but that makes me really happy. So I joined that reading challenge, the Easy Reading Challenge. I've done it in 2025. I only have one more book to go for December. And I was really inspired by the way the creator of that challenge set one prompt for each month and kind of just gave it almost kind of like an open-ended permission to read anything that fit in that category. So a good example might be read a book with an ugly cover. That was the prompt 1 month. So it was up to me to decide which book I thought had an ugly cover. Once I read that, it counted as completing that prompt for the month. And the thing I think I love the most about this is it forces me to keep looking to my physical TBR, my physical bookshelf behind me, to fill these prompts. Now, you don't have to. You can use audiobooks, of course, or digital. The app doesn't care. I certainly don't care. But for me, I want to make sure I'm constantly going back to these shelves behind me to pull off those books, because I keep acquiring books and I would like to be reading the books that I thought were interesting enough to purchase or bring into my home. So kind of thinking along those lines, I rejoined that challenge for 2026. I'm going to do it again. But I started thinking to myself, how can I make it mine? And I came across this really cool chart a few years ago. It is free on the internet. I will link it down in the description box below. And it is just a bunch of different jellyfish species. And as I was looking at this poster, which I do have hanging up in my classroom, of course, it suddenly occurred to me how kind of funny the common names of these jellyfish are and how well that would lend itself to creating a reading challenge. So what I've done is taken these different jellyfish species, and I didn't even do all of them. I settled on 15 of them, which I thought was plenty. I wanted to do one per month, so 12, but there are just too many cool jellyfish out there, guys. I couldn't decide. So I settled on 15, And I tried to create a reading prompt that connected with each of those species of jellyfish. So as I was thinking this through, I started thinking about what books would I read to fit these prompts? But then I started thinking, what books have I already read that would meet these prompts? And what other books might be out there that could fit these prompts? And so what I'm going to do is, in just a moment, I'm going to switch this video over to just a voiceover. And you're going to see the species of jellyfish, the name of the jellyfish, the prompt that goes along with that species. I'm going to show you some books that I've already read that I recommend that would be great for that prompt. So tried and true, I've loved them. And then I'm going to throw out some other suggestions. And those other suggestions might be based off of books that I know are really hyped up and popular. They might be books that I've read something by the same author and I really enjoy that author. They might be books that are already on my TBR, which means I've already read the blurb on the back and I've decided this sounds good. So once I've shared my personal recommendations, the books that I've read and I can vouch for, and then I've shared a few suggestions of other books that might work for you to fit the challenge, then I'll share the book that I am planning to read to meet that challenge goal myself. And again, all of my personal reads for each of these challenges are coming off of the shelves right behind me. Now, a couple things I want to let you know. First of all, if the book is a suggestion, I have not read it. So I'm not fully vouching for it. It's just one of those things where I've either heard it's good or I decided to put it on my shelf myself. So don't hold me to those. The second thing that I want you to know is that I really tried to pull from lots of different genres. So you're gonna see some of my favorite genres in there, definitely thrillers. You're gonna see some memoirs, you're gonna see some historical fiction in there. There might be some romances in there. There might be some spicy books in there. That is not my thing. So no matter what books that I'm recommending, whether it's a book that I have personally read or it's a suggestion, something I found that would fit the prompt, I really tried to give a variety of genres. So you're going to see some self-help books, you're going to see some memoirs, you're going to see historical fiction, sci-fi, you're going to see like little blips of everything. That way, hopefully you'll find something that works for you to fit the challenge, but if not, it'll kind of help you realize like how this challenge works and how really kind of open-ended it is. And to be honest, nobody's judging you, nobody's grading you, nobody's going to say that doesn't really fit the prompt. If it works for you, then I say do it, I say go for it. The last thing I want to say is that you might find a book that fits more than one prompt. So for example, it might have a red cover and food on the cover, and that's going to fit two different categories for two different species of jellyfish. Guys, I don't care. If you want to read one book that covers all 15 species of jellyfish and wham bam and one and done, then go for it, do that. I'm fine with that. The idea is for this to just be fun, maybe learn a little bit about different jellyfish out there, and also to tackle your TBR.
Our first jellyfish is the mauve stinger, and this one is a little unusual because not only do the tentacles sting, but the bell of the jellyfish stings too. So for this prompt, read a book with a weapon in the title or on the cover. Some recommendations are The Golden Spoon, which is a cozy mystery. Then we also have Cleopatra's Dagger. This is a mystery that took place in New York City, kind of like a detective mystery. The Word is Murder by Anthony Horowitz, which is one of my new favorite authors for mysteries. And then the last one with a weapon on the cover is The One by John Mars. I thought the darts were just kind of a little bit of a fun, different weapon. Some recommendations for Mauve Stinger would be Agatha Christie, Jessie Burton's The Muse. This is a nonfiction called Lady Killers about female serial killers, and of course, Game of Thrones, in case you're dying to pick that one up. My read for the Mauve Stinger badge is Legends and Lattes. I have been dying to get into this book. Up next, we have the flower hat jellyfish, which float up at night to hunt for their prey. These guys live off the coast of Japan, and I'm sure you guessed, read a book with a plant in the title or on the cover. So we have the Spell Shop with that beautiful gardeny cover, Murray Your Employer with those roses on the front, The Cherry Robbers, which is a recent read, and my all-time favorite book, The Giver. I cannot recommend this book enough. I know it's a YA, but this book has just moved me. I reread it every couple years. I just love it. Some suggestions would be 100 Days of Sunlight, which is a young adult romance, The Hazelwood, which is a fantasy, The Forest of Stolen Girls, which is a mystery, and Barbara Kingsolver, who is one of my recent favorite authors. This book, Unsheltered, I just picked up at a library sale, and it has that really pretty pitcher plant on the front. My choice for the flower hat jellyfish is My Name is Leon. I found this in a little free library, and it sounded interesting. Our next jellyfish is the flame jellyfish, and this is actually a popular seafood. But for this book, you need to read something red, fire, or maybe with a little spice. So The Maid is one of my favorite books with that red cover. We have Air of Fire, which is part of the Throne of Glass series. Brain on Fire is one of my very favorite memoirs. And then, of course, Catching Fire. There was no way I was going to make this video without mentioning a book from the Hunger Games. Absolutely not gonna happen. My suggestions, if none of those sound good to you, we have another Barbara Kingsolver book called Prodigal Summer, which summer is hot. Vicious by V.E. Schwab, if you liked The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. The Book of Fire, and Hooked, which was a recommendation for something with a little bit of spice in it. So that should be good. My read is going to be A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. She also wrote A Girl on the Train, which I really enjoyed, and I don't think I've read anything else of hers recently. Our next jellyfish is the moon jellyfish, and this one is pretty popular. This one has short tentacles and a mild sting. For this one, you guessed it, anything with night, moon, or stars in the title or cover. So I've got a bunch here. I've got the warbler with some stars on the front, the moonflowers, the light between oceans. Then we've got When the Moon Hatched, which is a long fantasy, but really good. The Night She Disappeared is a good thriller by Lisa Jewell. And then Piranesi is a book that's just resonated with me, but I love those stars. Some other books that might work, Survive the Night by Riley Sager. Then we've also got Daughter of the Moon Goddess. This one is probably going to go on my TBR. That cover is gorgeous. And then finally, sometimes it's nice to just pick up an old favorite. So I put The Call of the Wild in here with that wolf howling at the moon in the background. For my read, I'll be reading The Night Strangers. This is a thriller mystery type story. I don't know, I think I got it in a little free library and it just sounded intriguing to me. Our next jellyfish is the box jellyfish, which is well known for its cubed shaped body. This one is pretty lethal. This one, find a book with a box or mail on the cover or a locked room story. So I started with 10 Days in a Madhouse by Nellie Bly. That's a true story. The Answer is No is a short story by Frederick Bachman. The Measure is a story where a box is delivered to every person on the planet at the same time that gives them a string inside. And then Behind Closed Doors is one of my all-time absolute favorite thrillers. Highly recommend. Some other options might be Just Saying, Hope in the Holler, The Locked Room by Emily Griffiths, and then this book is just called Box. So most of these are just literary fiction. Hope in the Holler is a middle grade book, and Locked Room is a mystery thriller. My choice is Strange Houses. I am so intrigued by this book. It's just about a house with some hidden wall spaces in it. I might be fudging it, but I'm going for it. Our next jellyfish is the purple stripe jellyfish. This one can get kind of large. The bell can get up to 2.3 feet. For this one, we're going to read any book with a pattern on the cover. So The Family Remains with those stripes, The Memory Palace, and Things in Jars have kind of a fabric look in the background. And I just love this graphic pattern on cultish. This was a really fascinating book about how we use words to get people to do what we want, basically. Some suggestions are Gods of Jade and Shadow, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which I've never read, but I've always been curious about. The Incendiaries, I thought that was such a beautiful cover. That's just a contemporary literary fiction. And The Beekeeper's Apprentice, which is a kind of detective fiction. But if you've been following me, you know I read just about anything with bees on the covers. My choice for a pattern on the cover is Of the People We Keep. This has been on my list for a while. I honestly can't remember what it's about, but those stripes just fit perfectly. The next jellyfish is the egg yolk jellyfish, which gets its name from that yellow blob in its bell. Anything with food in the title or on the cover will work for this challenge. So we have The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane, which is a favorite. The Taster, Crying in H Mart is a great memoir, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and Bitter Orange. All of these books will work really well for this challenge, although it seems like 3 of them have more to do with beverages. Arsenic and Adobo is a suggestion. I have one of the books in the series on my shelf. Pineapple Street has been catching my eye a lot lately. And The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie is a series that I've started accumulating that I haven't read yet, any of them. And the last one is Taste by Stanley Tucci, who is one of my very favorite actors. My understanding is that this is a memoir / cookbook. Probably won't read it, but I just think he's a great actor. My read is going to be The Strawberry Thief. This has been on my shelf for so long. It is time to read this book, and I don't even like strawberries, but it sounds interesting. Our next jellyfish is the upside down jellyfish, and this jellyfish lives upside down on the bottom of the seafloor. So a book with anything upside down on the cover, or if you have a book that you know has a plot twist, I say go for it. So I'm Fine and Neither Are You, Clytemnestra, The Island, and the self-help book It's Not Supposed to Be This Way all have images that are upside down on the cover. I highly recommend that self-help book, by the way. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, I've seen that popping up lately, as well as This Is How You Lose the Time War. Love and Gelato is a young adult romance, and How to Fail is a self-help / memoir. I kind of love how the book How to Fail, the whole title is upside down. I think that's a lot of fun. This was a really interesting challenge to look for books for. I'm going to be reading None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I love how the image is reversed at the top from the bottom of the page. I think that fits the challenge perfectly. My next jellyfish is going to be the immortal jellyfish. And this jellyfish, if it's stressed, sick, old, it can revert to a juvenile state and start over. It has no maximum lifespan. So anything with life or death in the title will work for this challenge. Or a variation of it. So I have Drop Dead Sisters, which was kind of a humor book, The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, Life of Pi, and of course, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. All of these I have loved. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. This is adding to my TBR, as is Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs? I think Caitlin Doughty writes so well. The Story of My Life by Helen Keller, and another Agatha Christie recommendation, Death on the Nile. All of these books will work really well for this challenge, so any variation of the words life or death are fine. I am struggling. I may end up reading both of these, The Secret Life of Bees and The Sentence is Death. I kind of like the idea of reading a book on both ends of the spectrum. The next jellyfish is the Mediterranean jellyfish. These have been studied for their potential to combat breast cancer. So anything you read with water in the title or on the cover of the book will work. So I'm recommending Those Other Women. That was a really funny mystery. Remarkably Bright Creatures is super popular. The Wedding People I just finished and I loved it. And The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea was something out of my comfort zone, but I really enjoyed it. Other ideas might be Happy Place by Emily Henry. I've been enjoying her books a lot. The Night We Lost Him is a thriller and kind of a fun one from what I understand. The Starfish Sisters is a contemporary fiction, and The Last Murder at the End of the World. That book looks so intriguing, and I've read something else by Stuart Turton. I just can't remember off the top of my head. I will finally be diving into Frederick Bachman's My Friends. My mom sent this book to me just kind of on the spur, and I cannot wait to get into it. It might be my first read. Up next, we have the Japanese sea nettle. So any book set in Asia is going to work for this one. And my high recommendations are anything by Lisa C. So The Island of Sea Women, Peony in Love, Snowflower and the Secret Fan, anything by Lisa C is just going to be phenomenal. I've also loved A Single Swallow. That was a favorite. And White Mulberry is a recent read that I just loved. I really love diving into books that are set in Asia, so this is an easy challenge for me. The Women is really popular. This is a historical fiction book set in Asia. We also have Cinder, which is a young adult science fiction / fantasy book. And then, of course, Crazy Rich Asians, if you just want something fun and lighthearted to dive into. I'm really excited to share my read for this challenge. I found Pachinko, a brand new copy in a little free library, and I was so curious about this book, and I love that this challenge gives me a great reason to bump it up on my list. Next, we have the crystal jellyfish, and this jellyfish actually won some researchers a Nobel Prize, so it's kind of a cool thing. Anything with fragile vibes is going to work for this challenge. So we have Throne of Glass, Louise Penny's Glass Houses, The Book of You has broken glass on the cover. The Perfect Child by Lucinda Berry, that was an awesome book, but obviously a balloon and sharp nails, that's fragile. And one of my favorite memoirs is The Glass Castle. I highly recommend. Some other options might be The Glass Menagerie, again, if you want to read something that's maybe something to refresh yourself. I put Tress of the Emerald Sea in here. I was thinking emeralds, gemstones. We also have Lisa Unger's Fragile, which is right on the nose. And then All the Broken Places by John Boyne. I've read the Venice sketchbook and I loved it. So this might be added to my TBR as well. My read is going to be The Glass Woman. I'll be honest, I can't remember what this was about, but when I found it at one of my library sales recently, it sounded so good. So it fits perfectly. I feel like I say that a lot. Up next is the lion's mane jellyfish. This is one of the largest jellyfish you're going to find in the ocean. Any animal in the title or on the cover is going to work here. So World of Wonders is a collection of short stories about different animals in the world and plants. The Parrot's Perch is a memoir, as is The Puma Years, which is probably my very favorite memoir. And then we have The Bee Sting, which is a fiction, but I had to throw a bee somewhere in this video, so there it is. Wolf Song by T.J. Klune. I love T.J. Klune. Other Birds is on my shelf, as is the book Bunny. Those are both on my TBRs right now. And then A Street Cat Named Bob sounded really interesting to me. My understanding is it's about a homeless guy who befriends this cat and it inspires him to get off the streets, which is pretty cool. My read, though, is going to be Furiously Happy. I found this in a Goodwill. That raccoon cracks me up every time I see it, and I don't read a lot of humor books, so I thought this was a great time to dive into that one. Up next, we have the crown jellyfish, and as you can imagine, anything with royalty or treasure is going to work. So The Last Dragon of the East, I thought that was phenomenal. That was something I read as an audiobook. I finished Arabian Nights over the summer, and I liked the idea of a sultan being part of this challenge as opposed to a king or queen. And then just, again, a little throwback book in there, The Little Prince, something fun and light to read. Other suggestions might be, of course, The Princess Bride. And Selection is a young adult. I think it's a fantasy. Red Queen, I tried to get into. I know it's super popular. I might like it better in print than on audio. And then The Rosewood Hunt is a thriller that is getting added to my TBR. It sounds really good. My read is going to be The Phoenix Crown. I didn't intend to find a book with the word crown in the cover, but this truly was on my TBR shelf, so as always, it fit kind of perfectly. And now we're going to step outside our comfort zone because The Man o' War is not actually a jellyfish at all. If you want to read a thriller, read The Chain. If you'd like to step out and read a romance, I recommend People We Meet on Vacation. A good historical fiction is The Lobotomist's Wife. If you want a long chonker book, The Priory of the Orange Tree is excellent. A good horror story is The Butterfly Garden. We also have a fantasy recommendation with Assistant to the Villain. A modern classic, The Alchemist, was excellent. And a good memoir, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes by Caitlin Doughty. And my recommendation for a good sci-fi is In the Lives of Puppets by T.J. Klune. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone with Kristen Hanna's The Four Winds. I have never read any of her books before. They just seem overwhelming and serious to me, so we're going to give this a try. Now, I have created slides. I'll link them down in the description box below if you need this slowed down or you want something you can keep coming back to throughout the year for the challenge. But that's going to do it.
All right, so I think that's going to cover everything. I will link down below the Google Slides in the description box so you can have access to those slides if this went a little too quickly for you. I highly encourage you to hop onto the STORYGRAPH app on your phone. Again, it is free, and look for the Jellyfish Reading Challenge and sign up there. You can add the books that you're planning to read for that challenge, and it's kind of fun because as you read those books and mark them as read, it'll fill a little pie chart for you, and it's kind of satisfying. If you decide to join the Jellyfish Reading Challenge, please head over to that STORYGRAPH app, create an account if you already have one. Either way, send a friend request my way and leave a comment down below this video so that I know who has signed up. I would love to see what books you choose to go along with this reading challenge. And as a little fun treat, the first 10 people that comment down below to let me know they're joining the Jellyfish Reading Challenge and have friended me and signed up for the challenge in the STORYGRAPH app, I would like to send a thank you gift of one of the Jellyfish posters. I've got it all printed out here. The sheet is 11 by 17. I think the poster measures something like 10 1/4 by 14 1/2, but this would be a great resource to cut out those jellyfish if you want to glue them in the journal. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them down in the description box below. This is my first time ever creating a reading challenge. And if you're curious to see how I plan to incorporate this challenge in my reading journal, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up. That is coming soon. I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. Bye.